I recall as a young man, a young kid, we used to talk about how the church moved from a location, I think it was on 9th and Broadway or 8th and Broadway, and that area was becoming developed for industrial, and they decided at that time to move to a location that was on the corner of Birch Street and 14th Street in Los Angeles. And as I recall, at that particular facility, I remember the pastor being pastored by Reverend Mitchell. His name was M. Mitchell. And I recall that he pastored there as a child. I recall him pastoring there. And then he moved to 33rd Street and Hooper. He organized a church on 33rd and Hooper. And at that time, when he moved on, they called my father, Reverend R.B.W. Jacobs, who had just recently come from Texas. He had just built a church, the Annie Street Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas. It was very popular to name churches after the streets that they were built on. So when we think of Birch Street, it was on the corner of 14th and Birch, so they named it Birch Street Christian Church. And as I recall, as a young man, the dad preached there. I think he ministered there from about 1926 all the way to 1939 through those depression periods. But the church did grow. The church grew, and there were very many prominent members, as I recall. I remember entertainers and actors. I remember Henry Armstrong, the heavyweight boxing champion, not the heavyweight, the middleweight boxing champion. I remember him coming to the church. I remember Clarence Muse, who was a prominent actor who would come to the ministry. As a matter of fact, he would come mainly in the evenings. He would attend the evening services, and he'd drive up in his big limousine and touring car, that they called it in those days. And he'd get out with his company and come across the street, and I made it a point to be out to the front because I knew he was going to flip me a nickel to watch his car. Come up and say, "Boy, watch my car." Flip me a nickel. And I also remember Dr. Stovall, Leonard Stovall, who was a prominent physician in the area. He was very known for his treatment of tuberculosis that was devastating the community. That was before antibiotics, and he was quite prominent in trying to establish a treatment for tuberculosis. And also remember, as a young person, Tom Bradley, who lived around the corner, who was formerly the councilman and the mayor of Los Angeles. As a young man, he used to come over. He and my brother were quite active in the youth ministry within the church. And as that church grew, and as the people began to grow within the community, the industrial part of the community also grew. The Coca-Cola Bottling Company, which was on the corner of 14th and Central, and it went all the way back to Birch. Fire department was on the corner of 14th and Central, which was trying to expand. The Lafayette Middle School was on the corner of Hooper and 14th Street. It was trying to expand. Newton Street Police Department was on Newton Street, which was one block away. They wanted to expand. So that industrial expansion caused the church to think about moving and relocating to a more convenient place where they could worship with a little more laxity, with a little more being a little more relaxed mood. Reverend Bryant, I think, came in the late 40s, early 40s, and I think under his leadership, the congregation decided that they were able to establish enough capital in the building to sell it and move on to a different location. And as I recall, they decided to move to 28th Street right off of Central on the corner of 28th and Paloma, and it was right across from the YMCA, which was a very desirable place to be because the kids, we could just go across the street and utilize the YMCA facility.